So Christmas is just around the corner and it's time to start getting ready. Today on Catherine Learns Stuff, I'm going to walk you through how to make this family activity holiday countdown calendar. So let's jump in. The supplies that we need to make this craft is we need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. I'm using Christmas themed. You don't need 2 full sheets. You could probably get away with 1.5, but you want to have about 2 sheets of full 12 by 12 cardstock. You'll need 1 8.5 by 11 piece of colored cardstock that you can write with your Cricut markers. You don't want anything that's got a shine like this colorful cardstock that I've got, the Christmas theme one, because the ink won't stay on it. You'll need about 3 to 5 sheets of white paper so that you can print off the activities that I've created for this, and you'll need some ribbon as well as a little bit of glue to glue everything together, and then we will need a few dowels to hang this up later. So I've got 4 for now, but depending on how you want to arrange it, you may need more or less. Okay, so those are all the supplies that we need, and we will be cutting this out on our Cricuts as well as, so we will be using a Cricut marker and just our regular fine point blade. Okay, so let's jump over to our computers now so that I can walk you through the files quickly that you need to use for this project. Alright, so I'm quickly going to walk you through how to get the file for this project as well as how to use these files. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to my website, catherinelearnstuff.com, and you want to jump over to my shop. In my shop, I've got a bunch of things for sale, but you're specifically looking for the Family Activity Countdown Calendar project file. And this is where we get this, so you'll just simply add this to your cart. And in this file, what I've done is I've provided you with all the files that you'll need. It includes a copy of the candy canes and the countdown numbers, as well as 50 plus different activities that you can use to fill your calendar. Once you have a copy of this file on your desktop or on your computer somewhere, you need to unzip it and access it through Cricut Design Space. So we're going to select our upload button, and we will simply copy and drag these over into our files. The first file that we're going to work with is the candy cane file, and it's called 24 by 2 candy canes. And we're going to continue this and put this into our canvas. The important thing to note here is that this has 24 candy canes facing left and 24 candy canes facing right. But you'll notice that this is pretty small, so when we import this to Cricut Design Space, it comes in small. We want to make sure this is locked, and we want to change this to 18 inches. Once this is 18 inches, you will be able to ungroup this, and then if you click on one of the candy canes, you'll see it's almost 4 inches in height. That's a good size. The next thing that I'm going to suggest doing, and this is what I did with my project, is you have these 2 rows of candy canes and these 2 rows of candy canes. So let's call these ones right facing because the little curl goes right, and these ones down here are going to be left facing. I'm going to select all of these right facing candy canes, and I'm going to attach them together, and I'm going to do the same thing for the left ones. So what's going to happen now when I cut these out on my Cricut, this whole thing is going to come out on one sheet, and this is going to come out on another sheet. And I've cut these out in different colors of cardstock so that when I have them on my calendar, they're going to sort of be different on the front and the back, so I can rotate them one way or the other and have different images on them. So that's the first file. The next file that we're going to upload, I'm just going to get rid of these 2, and then you're just going to send that to Make It, and you're going to cut that with normal cardstock. The next file that we want to upload is we want to pull in our numbers. So I've got the Christmas numbers. This is the numbers that come with this file, and what we simply need to do is, again, we're going to import this into our Cricut Design Space. You'll notice that this is teeny tiny when it comes into Cricut Design Space. Again, we're going to change the dimensions on this. We're going to make sure that our lock is locked, and we're going to change this to 4.5 inches in height. This will give us a good size for each of these items. So we're going to select ungroup over here, and we're going to just do a double check here. So you'll notice that the height of each of the bows is going to be about 0.93. The stars is going to be 1, and the heart, the bulbs is going to be 0.1. So this is a good size for the candy canes that we have printed off already. Now the one thing I want to point out though is these numbers right now are set to basic cut, and we want to change these into a draw because we're going to be drawing them with our Cricut. So you can either select one by one, go select in your operations menu and change this to pen, and that will be that, or you can go on your side here and hold each down each number down while holding the control key down on your keyboard and selecting the numbers and scrolling through all of these and then changing them as a group to, bear with me here, I'm going to change these all to from basic cut to pen. So now this is all going to be penned in, but what you have to realize is they're still not together, so if I move that, it's going to go away from it. So I want to do each piece individually. I'm going to select the 2 items and then I'm going to attach them. Once they're all attached, then it is okay to send this to cut. Once those are all done, we can send that to our Cricut to cut them out, and make sure that you've got your pen in your pen holder. If you do not have a Cricut pen or marker, don't worry, I've got you covered. I have a link in the description below of a post that I've made where I go through how to use different pens on your Cricut that are not Cricut pens to help you get through that. The last file that we have in this project is we have a 50+ activities for doing with your family. So these are all formatted the same way, so if you print them off on your printer, you can actually cut all 5 sheets at the same time. Just slice down the one side this way and then slice everything out individually. So that'll save you some time. So those are all ready to go. All right, now let's jump over to our workstations and get the rest of this project happening. When I was cutting out my candy canes, I did them on 2 different sheets of paper because I want them to be different so that I know which ones I'm putting where. The candy canes need to be facing opposite directions so that you've got a design on both of the outsides. So on one side I've got the ugly sweaters and on the other side I've got sort of the Christmas theme stuff. So there's each candy cane of mine is going to have one of these and one of these on it, so it's going to help me put them together a little bit easier. So I'm going to take these off my mat and we'll meet up again in a second. Okay, so now I've got green ones and red ones, and you'll notice that they're opposite sides, right? So that when we've got this together, we're gonna have a candy cane like this. So that's how they're going to go together. So I'm gonna quickly group them up. So I've got 24, I'm just doing 24. You've got 24 double-sided candy canes. We're not doing anything with them, we're just putting them together for now. So we've got groups. Or if you prefer, you can just have 2 piles and work from your 2 piles. Okay, so now we've got these all cut out. Now there's more than 50 of these, so you don't need to use all of them. And you could have gone through and seen which ones you liked beforehand, but they were all sort of on 5 sheets. So go through what you have here and pick out 24 of these ones. You can do 25 if you want, but we're keeping in mind that Christmas Day is number 25. So if you want to do an activity on the 25th, that's your option. So we've got 24 of these that we need. So I'm just gonna go through these quickly and pick out 24. Once you have all of your activities picked out, if you're picking something that requires a little bit of work, like for example, this one here, have a taste test, you might need to make sure you have something ready, set aside for this. So you can either have a menu for this prepared beforehand so that you can quickly put this together, or even this one, like make marshmallow structures. You want to make sure that you've got marshmallows for whatever date this comes in. Now, when I do these, I sort of randomly put them into numbers, so I don't know what day is where. So I've actually put on the side of in my notebook, I've made a little note of which activities require some pre-work so that they're ready in the house or quickly available to start, so that when we open up these activities that require a little bit more stuff, that we have everything ready. So that's just a pointer that you should keep in mind for when you're doing this. Because the last thing you want to do is make marshmallow structures and not have marshmallows in the house. This next part is a bit time consuming, so I recommend maybe doing this in front of the TV, watching a movie, or something where you can distract yourself, because this is going to be a little bit of a time consuming activity. And so what I'm going to explain to you is how this is all going to work. Each candy cane has 2 pieces. So you've got the front and the back, and the candy canes are going to be connected to the notes this way. That's going to hold the note hidden inside. And so we're going to fold these sort of accordion style, right? So we're going to have our first piece connected here, and we want to fold it at this sort of mark here so that it's hiding within this candy cane. So if I look at this one here, just as an example, I'll notice that I want to fold this just before the H here. So I'm just going to fold my paper, and I'm going to try to, hopefully I've cut everything straight enough with my paper cutter so that this all kind of folds in nicely. And then I'm going to compare this here to my candy cane, because I want it to hide within the candy cane. And so that fits in there perfectly. So I'm going to make sure that I've got my fold on this line here. So I'm just going to fold this like an accordion, and I'll show you how to do the first one in sort of faster time so that it doesn't take up an hour of our time watching me fold this. But we just want to go back and forth and fold this up and down so that we've got kind of a little accordion. And then you want to make sure that your last fold is on the inside so that when we have, oops, this is backwards. So when we're pulling this open, we've got a flat side here and a flat side here. So now when we glue it, we're going to be gluing this on to our candy canes like so. So now all we need to do, I've got my first one ready. I'm going to glue this here. Put a bunch of glue on this side. And I'm going to stick this onto my candy cane. I'm going to scrunch this all up. And then I'm going to put glue only on this little piece here, not on the other candy cane, because I want to make sure that these line up nicely when I'm putting this together. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. And I want to line these guys up when I'm putting this together. So the nice thing about using glue with this is that they stick. So there was my one candy cane. Now you'll notice that it's opening like this. That's not anything to be worried about. We'll deal with that problem later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do all 24 of these. I'm not going to show you the video of that because, let's be honest, that's kind of boring. You'll get to make them yourself. So I'm going to do these all now quickly, and we will reconvene in about 5 seconds when they're all done. So while I was folding all these up, I quickly cut out my numbers with my Cricut. So I've done my standard numbers that I've got. I've got stars, Christmas bulbs, and bows, and so they're just on red paper with black marker. You can change the numbers to be vinyl if you'd like, or whatever you'd like. I just do them this way quickly so that I've got them ready. So these are going to go onto each of my numbers, onto my candy canes next. The one thing that we have to do now is each of these candy canes, although they're one piece, they still open up, right? And we don't want them to do that. So you're going to need some ribbon, and you have a few options, and I'm going to leave this one up to you. I'm going to try to just make it really simple for me. But you want this candy cane to open later, so you want to be able to open this up and look at it. So you can just do a simple knot into it so that it stays closed, like so. Nothing fancy. And if you wanted to, you could like put a dab of glue on the back to hold it shut so it doesn't slide away. But that's all you really need. You can make a nice bow if you're good at making bows. I'm not. If you want it to look more candy cane-like, you could like wrap your ribbon around it and glue it on. Just 1 second, sort of like this to make it look like it's got the swirls of a candy cane. Ooh, let's try that again. Like this, and then glue it on the back side. The choice is yours, but if you do something like this where you're gluing it shut, taking this ribbon off later will be difficult, and you don't want to be able to not open these, right? If you have to cut them open, you might end up sort of getting away from the design. And the idea is to open this up and look at what it says. So I'm just going to do a simple knot on all of these so that it stays closed and doesn't fall off. So I'm quickly going to do all of these with just like a short piece of ribbon, and you can do different colors of ribbon if you'd like. And also you can do all facing one direction or two directions, whichever sort of you like, doesn't matter. The choice is up to you. So I'm going to sort of do odds and different directions for each candy cane, and then I might even go so far as to use different color ribbon. So bear with me while I cut some ribbon and tie these all into knots. So I went ahead and tied all of my candy canes with just ribbon, and I've left enough slack so that the ribbon can actually go up and down, so I can just pull it straight off. What I'm going to do now is I've got numbers that we pre-cut earlier, and I've got, just as an example here, I can either glue my number onto the bow, which is in this area, or I can glue it onto the top or anywhere that I would like. The one thing that I want to point out is that if you are gluing it onto the bow, no problems. Make sure that you're gluing it onto the bow and not having the bow stick to the candy cane, because then you'll be stuck with the problem of you not being able to open it. So you've got the option of either gluing them here or here. I think I might do them up top just to make sure that I don't glue them by accident. So I'm quickly going to glue all of these, and since I'm doing paper on paper, I'm just going to use regular glue. I would recommend if you were going to do paper onto ribbon, using a glue gun would work better because it would help it stick, because paper doesn't always stick very well to ribbon. So I'm going to quickly do all of my numbers, and I'm just randomly putting numbers onto candy canes. Now I only did my numbers in one color, but you can obviously do them in lots of different colors if you would prefer. You can use scrap paper or whatever you would like. I just used a piece of scrap bread that I had to get them all done in one quick shot. So now that all my candy canes are done, it's time to start putting them into sort of a calendar format. Now, if you're good at getting ready for Christmas and you have your Christmas tree up early, you could even hang these ones onto the tree, and then you could just have to look for each different number every day. My Christmas tree doesn't go up for quite some time yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a dowel above each sort of row here. I've got them set up into 3 rows, and each candy cane is going to be attached by a ribbon onto my dowel, and then the dowel is just going to hang on the wall. So right now, let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit better here. I've got 3 rows. I've got sort of the 1 row, the 2nd row, and the 3rd row, and each row is going to be sort of have the candy canes attached to it with ribbon. So sort of like that. Sorry about the mess here. So I'm going to quickly just, again, I can use colored ribbons of either kind. I'm just going to do a dab of glue on the back here and then put a little string of ribbon up so that I can attach it to my dowel. The one thing that I want to point out though is I've placed these out like this so that there's some extra space. I'm going to actually attach this dowel to this dowel and then this dowel to this one here so that it sort of hangs as one unit. So you just want to have a little bit of extra space on the sides if you can, but you don't need to because you can do the ribbons below. And when I do these onto here, I'll show you, I'm just going to tie the ribbon onto the dowel instead of gluing it on so that it can come undone later. And then I've got these sort of set up at different heights. That way I can sort of fit as many, or I can fit more onto each row. So I'm not having this being like, you know, 5 or 6 rows. I'm trying to keep it down to 3. I was hoping I could get it to 2, but the only way I could do that is if I have more sort of elevation differences on these, and that would be just the same as having 3. So I'm going to quickly start to glue this. And now when I'm gluing these guys onto the ribbon, I said this before, I like to use glue, hot glue, when I'm using ribbon onto paper, because I find that just the regular glue I find doesn't always hold as well, and I need these to hold, I mean, some of these need to hold for a month, right, because they're going to be holding on my wall until the 24th of December. Okay, so I used green and red ribbon to do this before, so I'm going to do coordinating ribbon on the red ones. I'm going to do red, and then on the green I'm going to do green. And so all I'm going to do is, these aren't really centered gravity wise, so I'm kind of going to put the ribbon sort of, whoops, I'm going to glue the ribbon kind of more onto this side, so kind of right here, so that it all fits nicely. And I'm going to try to do sort of one at a time, and I've got them, as I said, placed sort of different levels so that I can make sure I put them in the right spot and sort of have enough leftover ribbon. And when I'm gluing these down, I'm going to leave a little bit extra ribbon so I can tie this up easily and hopefully not make too big of a mess. And we want to make sure that we don't glue it shut like I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to glue it like that, and then I'm going to cut a little bit of extra ribbon because I need to tie this on. And I'm not going to glue these on, I'm just going to tie them on so that I can untie them as we get through the holiday season. Red. I'm using my smaller glue gun because the big one will get out of hand quickly. So now that all of my ribbons are glued onto my candy canes, I'm simply just going to tie them up onto my dowels. And I'm gonna try not to have this be too large. So even for the longer ribbons that I've cut, I don't want them to be hanging super far down because I don't want my calendar to take up a full section of wall because I have limited space at my house. So these shorter ones, I really want them to be up close, and the longer ones can be a little bit farther down. And all I'm really going to do, I'll show you here, is I'm just going to hopefully tie these up in a little bow. Or not. Can't believe how bad I am at tying things like this. I'm just going to tie them like this. So each one will be a little bit off so that they can be seen at the front. And I'm going to do this for all 24 of them. Now that I've got all of my candy canes tied up, I'm just going to quickly trim the extra ribbons so that there's not so much stuff happening here before I do the final assembly of this. So I'm just using my scissors and trying to get a little bit off the top. Okay, so now that I've got all of my candy canes tied onto the dowels, I'm going to quickly attach the 3 dowels together, and I'm going to add an additional ribbon at the top so that I can hang this up. And that's the last bits that we're going to do. Now I'm going to use my green ribbon for this because I've completely destroyed it over here. So bear with me while I put the ribbon onto this. And now you can either tie this one to this one with individual ribbons or tie all 3 together with one ribbon. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to keep them sort of centered on each other so that they're about equal distance apart. And we want to make sure that when these are straight, they're not too much of an overlap so that we've got these things nicely managed. I need to start from the top here so that I don't mess up my tying. I need to tape this down so it stops moving so much. Okay, so now that they're done, I'm going to quickly take off my tape that I used to hold it in place. And what I want to do is I want to grab these 2 ends and I'm going to tie them up here. I'm just going to give myself some extra ribbon here. And I'm going to tie these into a knot, but I want to actually make sure that they're centered. So I got to do this on the wall to make sure that it's sort of balanced and not kind of wonky looking. So I can't do that on the screen. Sorry, you'll have to bear with me as I do it offside here. Okay, so I just tied a knot here at the top and I'm hopeful it'll be centered enough. Now all that's left to do is to put this on the wall, and when I'm putting this on my wall, I'm just going to make sure that all of my numbers are facing forwards so that you can see which number is where. And there you have it. Your family activity holiday countdown calendar is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this project as much as I have. If you've tried this out, let me know how it turned out in the comments below. I've also left a bunch of links in the details below so that you can access the file as well as figure out some other tips and tricks on making this project. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy crafting!